And we're back. Welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. I'm here with my host, Marcus Harkis. Marcus, how you doing?
I'm alive and well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. We have a special guest today, Miss Lauren Bertrand. How are you, Lauren?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
With WYNK, a.k.a. Drink WYNK.
Drink WYNK.
Thanks for coming in.
Wink.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks.
Marcus,
Happy to be here.
have you seen the WYNK product before?
No, I feel like I've been, I'm surprised to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hopefully a joyous surprise.
How long have you been
in
in Minnesota for the WYNK product?
So WYNK itself launched end of last summer here. So we are produced outside of the state of Minnesota. I can lead with that. So there was a lot of, restrictions in terms of coming into the state, being from out of state. But July of last year, I believe it was, is when that changed. So we were pretty quick on top of introducing WYNK brand out here at that time. I joined the team at the tail end of last year. We've seen a majority of our growth really since January of this year when we introduced the 5 milligrams. So hopefully if you haven't seen us yet, you get to see us very soon.
I mean, I'm seeing it now. Seeing is believing.
Hey, and that's my
vibe.
job. So
Drink WYNK.
Drink WYNK. It is a whole vibe. It's a fun one.
What state, though? You said another state. I have to know. What state?
Another state. We're in a lot of states.
Yeah,
Where's the home state for the brand?
Okay, so
but give us the whole background on Wherehouse and everything too.
okay, cool. Wherehouse Beverage. We'll lead with that. Wherehouse Beverage was born out of the curiosity of a few of our founding founders, the three founders. They, in 2018, when the Farm Bill passed, got involved with growing hemp and being a part of that. And they just all have some entrepreneurial spirits. And then another one of our founders has a manufacturing engineering background as well. So he's a very curious person, and they really started diving into seeing that there wasn't a lot of lower dose options out in the market for people who are a little bit more of that. Maybe it's California sober or sober curious or just looking for alternative options to alcohol. And we could really go down the path here, but I'll try to summarize it. But they put their brains together, and in 2020, as they were learning about the regulations and different things that they could do to expand into other markets, obviously manufacturing on site in-state was a huge part of that. They ended up building in a 52-foot trailer an entire canning production line, along with a emulsion technology that allowed them to produce out of the back of this 18-wheeler 30,000 cans a day. So what they were doing, it's incredible. These gentlemen are so smart. Absolutely. And they really think about everything, which has led our team as we've grown to be very well equipped going out into market too. But we'll get into that later. But
So just to recap that's a mobile production line.
Yeah.
On a semi-truck back,
52-foot
trailer.
Yeah.
And you're able to produce the emulsion, can the beverage, 30,000 cans in a day? Is that what you're saying?
So what they do is they actually, had undosed cans essentially and transport. And they would go into each state, pull up to, again, you have to be, next to the warehouse, next to the production. They'd pull the truck up, throw the hose inside so they were within the facility, and would connect up the emulsion and do the actual dosing on site through a little teeny tiny valve in the bottom of the can. So, amazing technology, and that could be an entire hour-long conversation in itself. I'll get him here himself to talk about
I
it.
live in rabbit holes.
But yeah, no, none of that on there. I haven't had a chance to go out and see the actual production yet myself, which, as mentioned, is out in Pennsylvania now. We grew out of what was at one point 2 of the WYNK wagons, lovingly, that were retired once we opened our co-packing and manufacturing. So Wherehouse is WHERE, House Beverage, because for the longest time we didn't have it was where's Wherehouse pulling up today. So it was all over. We were in Ohio, Missouri, Massachusetts, Jersey.
on the rec side as well as the hemp side.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So our products are actually born into the dispensary channel. So I think the biggest thing you need to know about Wherehouse Beverage, and which is why I think so highly of them as somebody coming from a beverage background, and they really made sure, I mean, their trial and error period was 2020, 2021, 2022. Like, it was way ahead of, a lot of people as these laws and stuff are changing. We were really in the forefront of that, kind of fighting for proper ways that this can be produced and presented to consumers that, again, is light, it's sociable. It's not a 200 milligram gummy or a candy bar that's going to send you to the moon. There's a place for a low dose, sessionable, light consumption. You can have your hard alcohol all day, but sometimes you just need that light beer.
Keep it light.
that seltzer, keep it light. So,
I wanted to point out, it's almost like a food truck going to a restaurant. You started with the WYNK wagons, and now you have a full-on co-packing distribution facility. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's very rare. Like, there aren't a lot of WYNK wagons out there, right? But it's common for food trucks to turn into restaurants. It's just interesting that's how they got to where they are now.
Like I said, these gentlemen were so smart, and they really got the right people involved. And even our team, like, we're still pretty small but mighty. So I think we've touched about, all in all, I mean, we've had markets come and go because regulations is tough, right? So being born into the dispensary market, we got pretty heavily involved there. Now a majority of our business has grown into kind of that mainstream hemp-derived market because, again, back to at its core, Wherehouse Beverage, our main goal is to educate, regulate, and ensure customers are getting reliable, clean, consistent products. And, being involved at the state level and staying up to date with legislation and different laws that are changing. I mean, gosh, we're just in Minnesota, and obviously it's a huge piece of the puzzle with everything that's going on. But, everywhere else, they have solutions before the problem even exists, it feels like. Even times I've been like, oh, hey, it'd be really great if we had something like this. And, like, honestly, I will have something on my doorstep almost immediately. They're very attentive. They're fine-tuned into the details, and they also want to, like, spread the love too, right? Like, nothing in this side of the industry, and by the industry, I mean the adult beverage industry. I can say I've been in the adult beverage industry, right, my entire career, the last 10 years. Cannabis falls under that umbrella now, and it's always varying levels of, like, competition when it comes to your brands you're selling against or you're selling. There's always, number one piece of advice is, you never burn a bridge and you never bash a brand, because you never know when you turn right around and you're acquired by somebody or you're picking up through your network a new opportunity and you're selling that brand the next day. The cannabis industry is, I mean, everyone feels more than ever like this interconnected web of, like, how can I help you, or who can I connect you with, or, like, all the things we want to win together. And I think us being one of those, quote unquote national brands in a very craft driven local market, it's hard to kind of say, like, hey, we're not like here to step on anyone's toes. Like, we really want to work alongside you, with you, for you, and see as many brands in this category that we see right now succeed. And we want to make sure we're all doing it right, and we're showing the government that we can do it correctly and safely and consistently.
I think a lot of consumers, they wouldn't know that, like, the hemp-derived products, they're allowed to be sold interstate, whereas adult use cannabis is restricted to within a state. So I'm seeing a question here that says, as a woman in a typically male-dominated industry, how have you found success, and what tips would you give your younger self?
But I also want to give you time to kind of explain your background, the last 10 years, because you and I got connected through LinkedIn, and right away when someone adds me on LinkedIn, if I have enough mutual connections, I'll just look through their experience. And I was able to go line by line and be like, this person really has experience in the beverage industry. Like, I'm curious to hear what she's up to, because I see you have a strong foundation. And I respect that, and we were able to connect right away. So take us through your experience as much as you want to share, and how you've gotten to where you are.
Yeah. like most people in the industry, I don't think I've ever met one person that said, I went to college to get my degree to sell booze. It never works that way, but I always ask because it's always a fun story. So I started just in college, like I was bartending, kind of shot grilling, whatever, and I had an opportunity to kind of run one of those programs in town, and it had me kind of working alongside the wholesaler. I went to Mizzou, go Tigers, University of Missouri. So I was working with the local supplier there in my small college town, just setting up these promos, and I got to hire my friends, and I got to put on the cool deals, and it was obviously extremely fun for a freshly 21-year-old at the time. And
it's a dream job at 21.
A supplier of what though? I didn't catch that part.
So I was working in spirits at the time.
Oh, spirits.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'd go to the bar and, we'd do the little shot girls. It was Bacardi. It's not like a secret. So I was part of the Bacardi Bats team.
Okay.
Anyway, so at that time I was still I had shifted from journalism to like business, but then I didn't want to get involved in the math thing. So I was like into communications, and I was like, you know what? I really enjoy this like promotional aspect of it. And obviously working in this industry would be pretty fun. And when I moved back to Minnesota after I graduated, I just wrapped up because that was like a contract job during the school year, right? So I moved back here and started interviewing, and someone said, go apply to like a distributor, like go be a merchandiser. Like that's an easy, fresh out of college start, see if it's something you want to do. If not, like it's a great starting point for any sales role. And started working for a distributor here. And that was like my longest stretch was with the Johnson brothers and Prestige family, and had some great training there, just even I think Gallo, just well-renowned training program in terms of sales and just understanding the industry. Got to learn a lot about wine, and studied that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I remember more that I learned in my WSET and like CSW class when it comes to like geography and like terroir and like different science. I was like, I learned more in the last like 2 years studying for this test than I did in 4 years in college, and here I am. But I joked around and I said, well, I'm going to study wine, and then I've always been very curious. So coming on to, what has led me to find success in the industry, I've always been extremely curious. So when I left Johnson Brothers, I was like, well, beer naturally would be the next step. Like I've done I've done wine, I've done spirits. And it's all kind of niche-y within the same industry. So I was like, I want to go learn beer. So when I left Prestige, I went to Anheuser-Busch's field sales team. This was right at the inauguration of the seltzer. So early 2020, I joined Anheuser-Busch's field sales team and sold seltzers. I learned all about the beer side of the industry, got to connect with another local wholesaler here. Had great success. Obviously, 2020 was a huge shift in for a lot of us in this industry, and a lot of pivoting, which I think is another. Being curious, pandemic. Right, is my first thing. That's really got me from point A to point B, and pivoting. And we can definitely dive into that a little bit later with some of these questions, but always being ready to pivot. Best thing that, happened to me was, going through a layoff from somewhere that I thought I was going to be for the rest of my career, but it really pushed me to, again, find another nook that I could dive into. So after I'd done studying the beer, I was kind of like, well, naturally, maybe someday I can learn about cannabis in the same way that I've learned about grapes and that I've learned about hops and that I've learned about the science. Like, how cool. And then literally it was like overnight, after my time with AB, I was with the lab, if you're familiar, and we kind of talked about that. It was awesome public-facing tap room over off University that had a full-blown pilot facility and
great research and development.
Quality lab on site. So what we did there was we would run beverage entrepreneurs, new formulations. We'd help them finalize. We would read the integrity of can liners. We'd do all these crazy cool things. So I got to truly dive into the art of developing a product from start to finish, from concept to commercialization. And during my time there, I met a lot of beverage entrepreneurs that had these great ideas and these these great concepts and great tasting product. You know, I'd done shelf life testing for them. The best and worst part of the job, let me tell you, is if you ever have to sit through a sensory panel or a shelf life test for the CPG category. But, you know, just the amount I learned. And then I saw these people have a great concept, but they had no plan to go to market. So I found myself in a position again, unfortunately through a layoff, where I was like, dang, I know what I want to do, but it doesn't really exist. So I started consulting and contracting with a lot of these people, you know, brands that I had met at the lab, and just helping them write commercialization, teaching them how to speak distributor language, how to speak to retailers, how to understand that, like, it's a 3-tier system, but, you know, there's ways you got to know in between every little
like a
thing.
franchise player.
So, you know, I mean, yeah, I guess a little bit. I franchised myself out a little bit to say, like, I don't know if I want to get so connected to another thing or another brand, just to kind of, I mean, like I said, the last 4 years was like 4 decades in my brain in terms of like just change and turnover and regulation and trends. I mean, we saw the seltzer category go whoosh and create a whole new category.
Why do people like seltzers?
Do people? Yeah.
I mean,
it created. Question. It is a controversial question, because I love a seltzer in terms of, like, big thing I love about WYNK. Like, I love a sparkling water. Mm-hmm. I love a clean, crisp taste. Now, seltzers that are alcoholic are either made with a malt base or a sugar base or some other base along with that seltzer. So I think what people don't enjoy or are burnt out in seltzers by is that malt, that residual kind of the sugars. I think people are starting to learn about the variation in flavor profiles and overall feel of artificial, fake sugars, unnatural flavors, all those things. People are figuring it out. And
they crave authenticity.
Yeah, I think so. But there's, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like you said, you can have your water, or you can have your soda, or you can have your cheap vodka, or you can have your expensive vodka. Like, when things are made right, when things are done with, you know, thoughtful processes and, you know, good ingredients, and, you know, they're doing it right every time, you know, it's not just a throw together. You got to earn that spot as somebody's favorite.
For sure. Yeah, I think it is hard, though, as a brand guy myself. Like, you get attached to these brands, and then over time you realize that they might drop you. You might have to go find another brand. And so it's important to have that strong foundation expertise that you're talking about, that you learned through your experiences, especially at the lab, where that you're birthing brands. Like, you're helping them from the beginning to get off the ground. And you're also realizing that some of them are coming to develop a product, but they don't have a strategy to sell the product.
Right.
And so you've probably seen a lot of failure in that space in a short amount of time, but it's great that you're working with a brand now that has had success across states, and they bring a unique approach to how they develop new markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I knew the consulting and contracting. I wanted, again, to keep learning more and kind of sharing that too, because I realized more so as I was going through my career that there's not a lot of people that, in the amount of time that I have, can jump around and sit in each of those seats. They can speak as a wholesaler supply rep, or can speak as a brand manager, or an area manager, or a sales manager. And what I respect and loved about WYNK, and really what I was looking for in my next step, I wanted something full-time. I wanted consistency. And I love being able to get these brands up and running. And when I was connected with WYNK, I was actually through a recruiter, and I still wasn't really willing to dive back into something yet. I had gone through a lot of change in a couple of years in my career, and for the first time kind of felt a little sense of freedom, and I was comfortable with what I was doing. And I wasn't even sure I wanted to step back into the adult beverage space. But by adult beverage, that was categorized as alcohol for me. So one of the biggest shifts for me in my career was I, along with a lot of other people, after, the pandemic, really reassessed my relationship with alcohol. And if it truly needed a place in my life, or if it was just in my life because that was my life. Because at the end of the day, I kind of did it for a living. But when I came home at night, I wasn't having a glass of wine before bed to wind down. Like, that wasn't my go-to, because it really was more work than it was pleasure. And I really, during my time, got in seeing a lot of brands working with functional ingredients and different ways that you can remove alcohol. There's this, the saying, you can't have fun without alcohol. Hell yes, you can. Are you kidding? Yeah. There's so many cool things out there. So when this recruiter finally kind of cracked and said, it's adult beverage, but it's not alcohol, I was like, all right, and I heard about it and did my research. And I was convinced, like, hearing Angus talk about that story of just, again, he's such a solution-driven problem solver, like solutions before the problem is there kind of guy. I was like, gosh, all the things that I'm asking for, begging for, pleading for brands to do or to get to people, or to just, again, go back to basics. Just get them the sell sheets, get them things on time, get them some pretty artwork. Like, you can do a lot these days with the basics.
Yeah.
And what I saw, at the time, it was right after WYNK had gone through like a full redesign. They won some Clio design awards. Like, we're really getting a lot of, last year was a big year.
Clio does like advertising awards?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Design and advertising. Mm-hmm. The first sellable can of WYNK. So the first can of WYNK was produced out of that WYNK wagon in 2020, the prototype. 2021 was the first can that was like ready to sell. 2022 was the first time this actually hit market. So in that short amount of time, when you talk about the birth of a brand and a category in this industry and the history of how long it took for even a hard seltzer to catch on, and then become something, cannabis has been around for a hot minute and has done a whole lot out there. So I was intrigued. So that wanting to learn more, always being curious side of me that was like, eventually I'll study cannabis too. I was like,
I love
everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah.
You've got a memoir in the making.
Well,
if you're a writer.
How long is the podcast? Just kidding.
I mean, we can stop and start again.
Oh, yeah. We've got unlimited credits in the podcast arcade. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with cannabis. I know you're talking about studying it, and you were a little burnt out on alcohol, but it sounds like you've had a place in your life where you like cannabis, and this has been a good opportunity for you to step into something more authentic. Yeah,
I mean, sorry, Mom and Dad.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, I think I've always had a place for cannabis in my life, in my adult life. Like, truly, it really wasn't something I really reached for and it truly was a solution for me at the time, in college, dealing with anxiety for the first time. I was states away, and, was introduced to it, and it definitely was always great for my anxiety. I learned about CBD. I was, using that instead of medication that was kind of being pushed on me. I was, went through a couple of funky health things in college that, again, a lot of the medications they were feeding to me was just like not it. And I really learned how, for me, it's always been, I'm a self-proclaimed microstoner.
New term.
I had to say it on air because that was Steven's reaction the first time I said it too. He's like, but like, truly, for me, anything and everything in moderation is kind of what we live by. And even in the ways that, why I love WYNK so much is everyone's like, oh no, we need the 10s, the 15s, the 25s, all the way up to 100. We make one up, not in WYNK. There's another brand again. We can go down, but 100 milligrams in a 12-ounce can with a little dosing, like a dosing cup on top, so you can measure.
Yeah, I tried that once in Colorado, and I was leaning on the airport, on the airplane window, and like.
I have heard so many stories of people flying, and they like accidentally overdo it, and then they're like, "Oh, in an airplane, man."
Can I get a
like
wheelchair?
There is a safe space and place for me when I want to overindulge in that is at home on my couch. But no, go for a little 5 or a 10, like a little 1 before your flight. Such a better experience than absolute paranoia.
Yeah.
A door just flew off a plane. Like, come on. That's not running through your mind.
Oh, shit.
I saw that too.
Anyway, so for me, it's always been, I'm a very busybodied person, and it's been something that's always just kind of helped me maintain calm and collectiveness. And, you know, you hit 30 and a beer turns into a 3-day hangover. Like, I don't drink often anymore, but when I do, I feel like it's nothing in comparison to my 20s. And I don't want to get out of bed for days. And this is just a dream.
And when you hit 40, the check engine light comes on.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to hear about what WYNK's got coming up next.
Oh, it's getting cutthroat now.
Hey guys, what are you up to?
Oh, we're just practicing for the Canna Connect 4 tournament, you know, getting ready.
The Canna Connect 4 tournament? What are you talking about?
Yeah, you know, it's the expo. All the brands are going to get together. They're going to compete in Connect 4. We want to show that we're the best in the industry, so we're practicing. And Marcus is getting really good.
Like Northern Lights, like you guys think Canna Connect 4 is like a Connect 4
Connect
tournament?
4!
Oh! Guys, Canna Connect 4 is a conference and expo. It's not a Connect 4 tournament. We're bringing together like 20 to 25 brands to give out like samples and education and knowledge about the Minnesota cannabis industry. It has nothing to do with Connect 4.
But we just haven't heard anything about it.
That's my fault, and I apologize. But we're getting the word out about Canna Connect 4 starting today, and tickets are on sale. In fact, I'm giving away 150 free tickets. Like, you guys got to get your tickets quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
guess we should stop practicing and go get our tickets.
Let's get the hell out of here and grab our tickets.
All right, let's go.
April 5th through the 7th, Modest Brewing and the Wilderness. Get your tickets online, cannaconnectmn.com. And we're back. Welcome to the Northern Lights podcast. We're here with Lauren Bertrand. Lauren, I've got a question for you. Mm-hmm. What's next for WYNK in Minnesota?
Ooh, that's fun. I have been very busy, to say the least. First and foremost, we're doing a lot of samplings right now. I've got an awesome team of brand ambassadors here in the cities. I'm actually going to meet a new one down in Rochester tomorrow. So we're really getting out there. And so you'll find us all around doing tastings. We're getting involved with Canna Connect.
Yes, I'm so happy about that.
Super excited about that next month. We're introducing a variety pack.
That's huge. People like having that sampler size.
Definitely. So I don't even think we dove into this, but WYNK at its core is available in 2 sizes. So we have our little cans. I love our minis. They're 2.5 milligrams.
Okay.
We sell them in 6-packs.
Yes.
So it's truly meant to be sessionable, easy, light. I like to say, even if you want to start with a really high dose and want to kind of stretch it out, maintain it a little bit, these are just awesome little, if you want to be social and have something in your hand and not, be pounding 10 milligram beverages back to back to back to back, this is a beautiful option.
I would take that to a picnic right away.
I know, right? This is my micro stoner can for you, Steve.
Yeah.
And then each of the flavors. So our 3 flavors, we've got mango, juicy mango, black cherry, and lime twist. All natural flavors. Mm-hmm. No added or artificial sugar, 0 calories.
Winning.
0 sugar. Right?
And high carbonation, but in a good way.
Yeah. That dives into emulsion and all that it goes through, but your emulsion is keeping things stirring in there, right? It's high carbonation, but it's super, super fine. So if we want to jump back to some wine terms here, it's more of a really tight effervescent bubble. It's not a big carbonated, I'm burping after every sip kind of experience.
So
it's a
gentle
very
burps,
fine,
not violent belches.
effervescent, if you will.
I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but
sophisticated.
Marcus is known to take things to another level. So
I love that. I was going to say, I was really thrown off guard because the couple that I had checked out, I think he was behind here. So I was like, wait, who is this other man?
Oh yeah.
But it's I love it. I love the change of pace.
Tanner, Marcus, John, and Shayna are all on the board, and they all swap in, swap out. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. But anyway,
yes.
So they come in 6-packs, which is a little different than a lot of 4-packs you see out there. So keep that in mind, because our price point currently will be a couple bucks higher. But again, you think about it in terms of quality, consistency, and quantity. You're getting 2 extra cans in there. More cans. Yeah. So 5 milligrams in our 12-ounce can, 2.5 milligrams. Equal parts THC and CBD. So you get a really nice social light balance.
I had one the other night. I was working late doing some editing on the computer, and I knew I wanted to go to bed soon, but I still had some work to do. Mm-hmm. So I went into the fridge, popped a 2.5, or I think it was a 5.5. And, it was nice at 11 o'clock at night. It helped me fall asleep a little bit. I started to get tired and went to bed by 11:30. I
convinced, my parents and then even my grandmother that this is, a better alternative than your a little splash of wine before bed or what it may be.
Right.
If you're doing it for sleeping or calming reasons, hello, that's what we're here for. So waking up refreshed, no hangover, better sleep, aches and pains.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know why I need to convince people anymore. But yeah, so currently they're available in the 3 flavors, the 2 different size packs and 6-packs. But we are introducing the variety pack this spring. It'll be a 12-pack available in both the 2.5 milligram, which is awesome for the boat. Again, if you're going to do it all day, something to maintain. And then your 5 milligrams also if you want to up the ante a little bit. 12-pack on those 2. Plus, we are introducing a new flavor in that variety pack.
A new flavor to make it 4, because you kind of need 4 for a variety pack, right?
Yeah, correct. So it'll be 4 of each flavor, and our new flavor is tangerine, and it is delicious.
Oh, that's Tanner's favorite flavor.
First.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get you some for sure.
This will be coming out in just right around April, so a couple weeks out from now. But the question I had for you is kind of with your experience that you have coming from the alcohol industry, how have you enjoyed the interactions that you've had within the cannabis industry? But in Minnesota, you're still dealing with liquor stores. You're dealing with stores like Dabbler Depot. Does it feel familiar? And then has it been pretty easy for you to on-ramp with your past experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels, I get to go see old friends. So many of the accounts that I was able to pop into because, really since the pandemic, I was out and about during the pandemic the whole time. And, so call it 60 liquor stores a week during that time. It was crazy. But I think that's a huge lesson that I learned at that time is I wasn't doing much, but I was showing up. And these accounts really respected me for that. I clearly wasn't in there just to grab cases and get a number during that time. It truly was a whole different side of humanity of just what can I do? Can I help you restock? Let me jump behind the cash register for you for a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the relationships that I've had established in this market, some are going on 10 years old back to my days, or 10 years old back to my days selling wine
early
on. So it's so great to reconnect and kind of have that where are they now conversation, because it is such a small world in a big industry, that we run into people all the time. And I think when you can leave a lasting impression that shows that, you're the kind of person that's going to show up for them, not just for me in a selfish way. They know that what I bring to the table, they can trust and, that I'm going to be there for the products too. So everyone's been super welcoming. I think they're very excited about the category. Everyone is. They're eager to learn. So I spend a lot of time kind of answering a lot of the questions that maybe they feel silly asking other people or, just knowing that I'm someone that they can trust and, lean on is been super helpful. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's different about selling beer or wine or spirits than selling cannabis is I get to go into salons and gyms and glass shops and tobacco stores and these hemp dispensaries that are popping up. So there's still like, I'm learning something new every day, kind of challenge to it as well. So while at the core, it's mostly the same, and, dealing with regulations and state differentiations is one thing, but this is county by county and market by market and, legislation by legislation kind of thing. So
But you're from here.
Yeah.
It's just the industry is new.
The industry is new, but it definitely falls under the same umbrella, which is why, again, breweries jumping in on this, they're doing a great job because it's their language. Nowhere else has a brewery or, somebody been able to play in this space that we've all been watching for so many years and curious about what it's going to do to our industry or our market. And we're coming into a world that Minnesota is setting this mainstream standard that they can commingle, they can interact together. We do have dispensaries coming down the line. And you can find WYNK there or you can find WYNK here. We've got Countdown, which is 25 milligrams and up that comes in to play. That's a huge dispensary brand for us.
Okay. And where can people find Countdown?
So Countdown's not here yet.
Right.
But we're itching. We're working really hard to get it here as soon as possible. But Countdown's in dispensary channels and mainstream channels. For us, a lot out in the Northeast. Okay. We're in Ohio, Illinois, Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut. That has been such a crazy wildfire, for us lately because they're going through some crazy regulation things. And we were like one of the only brands that could get through the survey or what's the word I'm looking for?
Like you're able to be sold.
They like secret shopped, right? And they changed a bunch of regulations and WYNK was one of the only brands that was compliant because we follow everything to a T. We make sure we're setting a standard. Mm-hmm. And that allowed us to just kind of go in and take off. Like, again, just having a brand that has that reliability, that doesn't put liability on the accounts that are carrying it, sure. Right? Like I can guarantee you what we have is going to pass the test. So if you get somebody walking in your store, just walk them to WYNK. Yeah. We're doing it, I promise. But yeah, no, it's been pretty easy to interchange. And that was one of the main reasons, the recruiter had reached out to me was we see your background, we see your training. We need to learn, a lot of this because being, in cannabis dispensary channel, jumping into mainstream and how liquor and the beverage world works. They pretty strategically hired myself and two others in the other mainstream markets that have liquor backgrounds because, we know we've sold to these people. We know these people. We know the pushbacks.
What advice would you give for aspiring entrepreneurs in the Minnesota cannabis space who want to, bring a brand to market?
Make sure you can pivot if you need to and just don't give up. Just show up, whether you're showing up for yourself or you're showing up for a client or you're showing up for a customer. If you do the little things right, if you just stick to the basics, you don't need to come running out of the gate with $1 million digital ad running on Meta through X and tied into Instagram. Like so much of that can happen organically just by being authentic. And that's a lot of our digital footprint has all been organic. It's created by us in the market, for our teams. So don't overthink what you think are the big things. Like focus on the little things, get a couple wins and scale with yourself. I think that's the biggest kind of setback that I've seen a lot of brands do. Like you have great branding, you have great marketing, you have a great formulation, but like they threw their money down the wrong slide and then they ran out. So focusing on the true values of your brand, get it in your friends' hands, get it in their family's hands, get it in their friends' hands. The spiderweb effect is going to get you so much further than an algorithm. I mean,
I like that.
it's and I'm not hating on any of the digital and SEO. Obviously, that's gotten us very far too. But when you are brand new, there's so many things you have to do right away. I think is my biggest point. And a lot of people miss that piece and just kind of get lost and can't dig out from that.
It's the shiny stuff that gets people's attention, but you have to do the little things that nobody really notices, but they notice when they're not there.
Right.
Little things mean a lot.
It does, yeah.
Marcus says that a lot.
Stay curious.
Yeah, I like that.
Stay curious. That's what I got to say to them.
If people are curious about WYNK and they want to learn more, where can they find them on social?
Yeah, so we are on Instagram primarily, and that's Drink WYNK, and it's WYNK with a Y, everybody, WYNK. And then we, professionally, LinkedIn, we're pretty big on LinkedIn, just, again, keeping connected, all of our team, and being involved in a lot of the conversations. So if you're curious about it from that side, follow us on LinkedIn. We've got some really good content that goes out. Not only about ourselves, it's a lot more about just what's going on and what's changing and what's available to us all, and really working hard on kind of leading the way and collecting data. I know there's a lot of really great partners even in Minnesota that are really pushing that too, but for us being able to have a bit of a national footprint and start collecting data from some larger retailers,
right?
I think that's going to be huge in the long run. So find us on the fun side on socials and on Insta, and the professional side on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you've got a great website. We're looking forward to seeing you guys at Canna Connect 4.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And we appreciate your support. We're excited to have you on the beverage panel. That's going to be a great discussion. And
yeah. Do we get to use the headphones and the microphones again?
We'll see. Not usually at the Canna Connects, but we're excited to have you at the Wilderness, and we're looking forward to getting to know you guys more as the year goes on.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.